Hey everybody, John Felt here. This is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing, December 7th. I'm going to be kicking around a little bit on a change in where this works best to do this, either over the weekend, maybe even Monday morning. So I might be making some changes from time to time. But the theme of this week's briefing, I mentioned this last week in some of my posts, a weather regime change, and that means some milder weather as we get into the new week. Actually, more like week 2, not the new week. I'll be talking about that because we have a cold front coming through that's going to give us one more shot of really cold Arctic air. Let's get started in today's weather briefing. Well, some of the action spots last week were around the Great Lakes. I'm sure you heard about the feet of snow, up to 5 feet, and I talked about that in a post recently. The water is relatively mild, warm. I wouldn't really call it warm. I wouldn't want to go swimming in it. But compared to the Arctic air above it, it is. And that Arctic air, that cold air over the warm, provides instability, picks up that moisture, and it produces a lot of very heavy snow on the lee side of the Great Lakes. And you can see that heavy snow. With that Arctic front, we had quite a bit of high winds, very high winds here. That's the orange. So as far as snow goes, like I said, it was right on the lee side of the lakes. We had this about a week ago, this snow here, and you can see all the snow on the lee side of the lakes. Now, other than that, the only other significant rain last week was along the North Gulf Coast. And other than that, it was a pretty quiet week as far as precipitation. And the reason why is we had an Arctic air mass. Blue is significantly below normal temperatures. Arctic air masses tend to be stable and fairly quiet. But we had this line here, and to the west of the line, western U.S. above normal, east of the U.S. below normal temperatures last week. Now some areas really got cold. In that purple here, we had temperatures here well below zero, and the blue single digits. So the upper Midwest, parts of the northern Rockies, and that's an area of the nation that typically does get cold as we get into December. So rivers are generally fairly close to normal. I did want to point out that we are beginning to near some low flow levels again on the Mississippi because of the lack of rain, and that might not change for a while. So I mentioned we're changing our weather regime, and we're going from an Alaska ridge here to a Pacific trough, and that's generally a milder type pattern. So what we have here is right now we have red is atmospheric jet stream position further north than normal, or I should say higher atmospheric pressure, and that equates to milder weather. But we're going to have this shot of cold air with this quick moving clipper type system. That's going to bring us a shot of cold air early into midweek. It's going to move through very quick. By next weekend, we're going to have a more sustained warming, and you can see that right here. Now this little system right here might give us some rain over the south areas, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. So as far as temperatures go, it doesn't even show up that cold air in this 5-day average, but there is going to be some colder air pushing through this week. Then we're going to start to warm up and take a look at this middle of December. It looks quite mild. Now as far as rain and snow, okay, here we go. This is with the Arctic front, the second front that's coming through here. Here's the first one. Here's the second one. This first one is going to give us some rain over the eastern part of the state. The storm tracks are up to the north, and that's going to give us some snow in this band here. And then the Pacific Northwest, especially higher elevations, also some snow. So here you go as far as snow goes. This track right here looks like it's going to be the most active with some heavy snow. Other than that, we're mainly looking at the higher elevations of the west. Okay, so I mentioned a transition to some milder weather, and I wanted to show you, here's week 2, and it looks like this is going to continue once it moves in for a while, at least through week 2. And also maybe a little better chance of rain here through the central U.S. And the Pacific Northwest. This might help some of the rivers to some degree. Now, one of the things on my mind, and I want to do a little research for a post, and I might get my friend and colleague Craig Edwards to help a bit, and Weather Wise Guys post, is to talk about the role of snow this time of year. If we start to build a big snowpack, that can have an effect well into the season. A little bit too early for that. That's later in December into early January, but it is on my mind when I look at this week 2 right here, seeing all this mild air. That's certainly not going to be conducive for us building snowpack. Anyway, always thinking about the weather. Have a great week. Take care.